Everybody, we are back for a brand new week of the Zactivist Speaks, and tonight we're talking about fine arts and music education. And I'm joined by two bright stars that you have been shining for a long time, although they're still relatively new stars in the game. We have the former president of the Alabama Music Educators Association, Dr. Sel Work, and then we have noted author and SEL champion, David Spellman. Welcome to you both. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, doing good.
Yeah, every day's a good day when you wake up above the ground. So
you know what? That is so true. Every day that we are given is a gift, and it is something that we have to maximize. And so that means a lot to me. It's been like a mantra for me, really throughout 2022. And again, when you think about all the things that we need to do and the things we may put off for tomorrow, we need to maximize it today. So I agree with you, David, 110%. You know, this topic about fine arts education is something that has been pushed and been pressed, for quite a while. And I want to open the floor up, and I'm going to start with you, Dr. Womack. I want you to tell me, really, if you can, in a very concise way, or even your own way, what is the point of fine arts education?
Yeah, it's providing access to kids to be able to express their thoughts, their feelings in an artistic way. So it could be in a multitude, of ways, between music, dance, theater, visual arts, creative writing, even. It's all about student expression. So our students being able to have that access is so super important for their voice and to be able to grow and learn in all content areas.
And so that's a really good point. And so because again, I know that, right? Like I'm a huge believer and supporter of the arts and of fine arts education. But unfortunately, we have seen, and we're going to talk about that throughout this conversation, the continuous efforts in times of crisis, especially to roll back funding for fine arts education or take it out of schools altogether. You said that fine arts education has a mechanism for helping students in the non-fine arts area. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, and I don't think that maybe I didn't say it in the right way. So it supports learning in the other content areas. It's not like it can be a mechanism, but that's not really teaching arts. That's using arts to learn a different content area, like arts enhancement, which it can be, but there is a value for arts and art's sake, for learning arts, because it's a human experience that everyone should be able to partake in. So also it's important, to learn the arts along with the other content areas. That's when extreme learning takes place. That's that arts integration place, that where it is a magical place where learning happens in the core content areas, but also in the arts areas too.
See, and thank you for. And that's going to be like the clip, right? That's going to be definitely going to be a clip, because you said something that really hit for me. I mean, it's a misconception, right? Like that is, I was a director of curriculum for a large school system, and I oversaw, fine arts education lightly, because I let the expert, whoever that person was, really handle that for that school system. And I had full faith and trust in that person, whoever he or she may be, to do a great job. And they did a great job. They did an amazing job. The best fine arts coordinator I've ever seen in my life. But what you said was really powerful, in that fine arts education needs to stand on its own, and students need to have an education in the arts for the sake of education in the arts. And it can be used as an enhancement to support the core academics, but it should not be seen as, when you do it in the core academics, as that being fine arts education. And that was, for me, a misconception. I really thank you and appreciate you for clarifying that.
Yeah. And the research, will show the kids that are in arts classes have higher SAT scores or have higher, grades or GPAs. And that is true, but it's not the reason that you should offer arts classes.
And so here's a question that, I have for you, David, right? So you were an athlete. You've done a lot of things. Why, or how are you able to balance your academics and your athletics with your passion and your love for the arts?
I mean, like Dr. Womack said, art is that expression. So we in our lives, we play many different roles, we wear many different hats. So yes, without academics, there was no athletics, but still, if those were jobs, really, you had to go to school. I wanted to play football, wanted to play basketball. Those were kind of like my jobs. So when I had time to decompress, what were the things that I found? Typically for me, it was music. Like, I love graffiti. I love the arts. I couldn't paint nothing. Even back in elementary school, my parents didn't even put the pictures on the refrigerator. They were so bad, but I enjoy looking at it, like the aesthetics. I appreciate anybody who has those skills. But for me, just the appreciation of art and beauty like that. But for me, the way I use the arts to kind of bring me back to my center was always through music.
And Sarah, why, because again, I don't think I've ever really delved into your journey in this work, right? And so I know that you're a master music teacher, masterful. But are you a musician? Are you an actual musician? And so what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm come from a family of musicians, and my dad owned a music store. His dad played for square dances and was like a square dance caller, and so it was always in my household. I grew up with that, and so like my whole journey is making sure that everybody has that access. If they don't have it in their homes, then we're going to provide it for you at school. If you're interested in music and interested in making sure that you have any kind of arts in your, in your life, I'm hopefully going to remove those barriers. So I had music in my house, started band when I was in 6th grade, playing clarinet, and thought I was going to be the best band director ever. And turned out I got a position in an elementary school and absolutely loved it. And then taught elementary school for 15 years until this position in leadership. So my background's in music. My husband's a percussionist. You can see the instrument that's in our office. So it's around us all the time. And I think that's an inspiration, knowing how it impacted my life, and making sure that every student, if they don't have a family member that offers them that opportunity, that they're going to be able to get it at school if that's what they want to do.
I love it. So my next question, Sarah, I'm gonna give you some time to think it through, because you're so excellent on the spot, but I want you to be able to think about and tell me how, because you work in a large urban school system, and there are lots, what you just said about opening doors for kids and giving them the opportunity to engage in the arts is pivotal for some of these kids who have that talent inside, but they've never been exposed and never had it brought out. So I want you to just think about some examples of how you have coordinated that work in your current school system, while I go now to David. David, this is what I want to know. I want to know for you, when you said that music had provided you with an escape that you're now sharing on a larger scale with students, to what you do around hip hop pedagogy. I want to know, what was your journey into the arts, and how did you find this love and passion for hip hop?
I mean, before even hip hop, it was music. My parents started me off right. I often tell the story. Motown records, Motown Christmas, Stevie Wonder. Like, I come from the good music era, playing instruments. Not, of course now everything is digital, but hearing those instruments on the records, the vinyl records. A lot of the people may not know about the vinyl records, but yes, the vinyls. So listening to the lyrics, and just when you listen to music, whether it's the beats or simply the lyrics, they elicit different emotions. So music can make you happy, music can make you sad, music can make you pensive. Like, music touches the gamut of emotions. So as I got older in my life, of course, it transitioned to hip hop, because that was my generation. But then listening to the lyrics, but then internalizing them. A lot of the rap lyrics helped me get through some tough times. And that's the thing. Of course, there are some negative references in hip hop, misogyny, drug references, all of these negative things. But if you really take a deep dive, hip hop has a lot of positive attributes. And that's what I've done essentially with my book and curriculum. I take out those lyrics and connect them to social and emotional learning.
And I'm going to explore that. I'm going to put you on the spot in a minute after I come back, from Sarah's response about how she has been able to coordinate the efforts of exposing children to this wonderful world of fine arts that otherwise, because it isn't in their home, they haven't been exposed to.
Yeah, it's removing whatever the barrier is that's preventing them from participation. So, in a large metropolitan area, it may be transportation. So let's get them a bus. Like, let's get them from the school to the arts venue. So whatever that barrier is, if it's an instrument that they need, let's figure out how to get it. So is it, something that we can purchase? Is it something that we can work with a partner that we can get donated? Whatever it is, we're going to remove that barrier. If a kid has the want to participate and they have the heart for it, then we're going to figure out a way to make it happen. And so that's mobilizing our 200 arts teachers so that they know their students and they can communicate the student needs to me so I can support that teacher. It's going to our partners, the city is amazing and full of amazing arts partners that I don't have the expertise in. My background is music. We have kids that want to do technical theater, that want to do musical theater or visual art. So that's going to our arts partners and saying, hey, we have this kid or we have this group of students that are really interested in this. Do you know somebody? Can we come and visit your, museum? Whatever it is to get those kids connected is what we're going to do to make sure that they have that access.
And you've cultivated so many amazing partnerships with the city, and so I could go on and on and on about what I know of those things, and it's really, really, again, so many great things, so many dynamic things. Now, David, you talked about and brought up like rap music, right? And or hip hop rather. So, Sarah, I want you and David both to make an assumption. When you look at me, who would you assume is my a top rapper? I'll give you a top male rapper, David. Who's my favorite male rapper of all time? And Sarah, who's my favorite female rapper of all time? And I'll say this, one of them is old and one of them is new.
So broad, right? So broad. I'll say your favorite male rapper.
Or you can even call him a hip hop artist, and that's fine too.
You're in Atlanta, you're in that area.
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta.
Let's go Jeezy.
Jeezy is absolutely towards the bottom of the list. Okay. Ooh. Jeezy is nowhere near the top 20 at all. He is nowhere near the top 20 at all. No, not Jeezy.
Okay.
Heck no. We're gonna give you one more shot to clean that up because you did that was horrible. Like that was the worst answer.
It was.
Sarah, favorite female hip hop artist?
Cardi B
is not my favorite. Now I really like Cardi B, not so much because of her music ability, right? But I like her because of her political activism, and I really appreciate how she came out and she encouraged young people to vote and to vote Democrat. I appreciated what she did for her mother-in-law, who's a very active member of the Georgia Democratic Party. So Cardi B is in the top 5, but she is not the top. You are in the top 5, so I will go ahead and reveal that my favorite female hip hop artist is the one and only Megan Pete, who will be celebrating her birthday on Tuesday. And I'll be celebrating her birthday as well that following Wednesday with even on Tuesday, National Megan Pete Day. I'm going to have Meg Thee Stallion Day. And I'm going to make my favorite Meg Thee Stallion quotes. I'm going to put them all over my Instagram stories. And then at my little spin class that I go to, I'm going to cater something for the hotties for them on that day. David, you back in the hot seat. You get a second chance. You gotta do better than
I gotta redeem myself.
Yeah, so yes, you do.
I'm gonna go, since we're all educators and somebody who's a big proponent of education. Oh my goodness, let's go J. Cole.
I like J. Cole. He's not in the top 5 though, but his music is good. He has done a good job. He's a good person. I do like him as a person. I like his work. But my absolute favorite male rapper or hip hop artist is Tupac Shakur, hands down. For me, growing up, it was his music that really helped me stay motivated and recognize that this is the world that I live in. This is the world that I'm being given. And this is, again, what you have to navigate in order to survive. And I think even now, if you go back, the sound is a little dated. The whole California sound, it didn't last or didn't endure as well as some other sounds, but the lyrics are absolutely timeless. Absolutely. Now, David, I saw your well-written article in Edutopia about using hip hop to promote SEL competencies. And I want to know what motivated this piece. That's my first question. What motivated this?
It's a two-part answer. First of all, we've been doing SEL all our lives. Like, these skills are innate to us. So when I hear the music, I simply just make those connections. But more specifically, what encouraged the writing of that article? I've seen another article on Edutopia talking about hip hop in the education system, and it said and no shade to the author, it said the reemergence of hip hop was due to the play Hamilton. And I was like, you know what? I'm hip hop every day. So of course Hamilton brought it to the masses, which is okay. We love people coming to see this great art form. But I sent a letter to the editor. I'm like, hey, I think I can provide you something better, like how I see hip hop being used in education. So the editor, we got on the Zoom. He's like, go ahead, pitch me your thing. I said, this is what we're going to do here. I submitted the paper. He was like, yo, this is amazing. We're going to put this up. And that's all she wrote. But yeah, just the way I saw hip hop being used in education, of course, is my way. And no, like I said, no shade to the author, but I'm like, you know what? Hip hop is so much more than what Hamilton is presenting. Like, you can actually connect it to SEL to boost up those skills in our students and staff as well. So that's kind of, I was emboldened to write that piece based on what I saw on the site.
I'm gonna tell you right now. See, had I read that article, and if some of these teachers had read that article who are now active on TikTok, it would have been Edutopia wouldn't have made it. Okay, they would have been canceled on the spot, because to say that hip hop is now prevalent in education because of Hamilton, when it's an art form created by and perpetuated through Black culture, that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. And I'm glad you saw it and not me. Now, I want to know, my next question for you is, when you talk about, using these hip hop competencies using hip hop to promote the SEL competencies, how can schools do this effectively? Like, how can schools do that? I read the article and I saw how some of these really well done excerpts can be used in the environment, but how can schools start this journey?
I mean, actually, let me go ahead and do a little shameless plug. Just like music, social and emotional learning inspired by hip hop, which is the book and curriculum I wrote. So I show educators how to take lyrics, connect them to SEL, but then there's ELA, standards in there, because we all know as educators, anytime you read anything, informational text, literary text, kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, the first question is always, what is the theme? So there's always a lyrical breakdown, but then it goes further into the SEL standards and the ELA standards. Some of the activities are creating a cultural PowerPoint. Some of the activities are creating a mentor, like a sheet for your mentor, a mentor contract. That's the best way to say it. So I'm touching on different standards in their ELA curriculum, but still keeping it with the hip hop. And when I say hip hop, it's just a sprinkle of hip hop, but it unleashes so much more in the student. We talk about Bloom's taxonomy. How do we get those higher level thinking skills? Look, let me show you from the culture. If Dr. Womack has said it repeatedly, large urban districts, hip hop is in your classroom every day. If you're not utilizing hip hop to boost up the rigorous work, culturally responsive instruction, big ups to Retta Hammond, relevancy and rigorous, that's all I've done.
And yeah, rigor and relevance in addition to, because a lot of people use those terms, and shout out to the former branch of the company I currently work for. I used to work for the branch ICLE, the International Center for Leadership and Education. And again, the rigor and relevance framework comes from Bill Daggett. So Dr. Daggett, shout out to you, because a lot of people talk about rigor, relevance, and relationships, but they don't cite and give credit to Dr. Daggett. So, I love that. So Sarah, again, I just got to say, I'm so proud of you and all that you have done. So David, let me just let the cat out. I used to work with Sarah, and when you said earlier that you were in a classroom, because I completely have forgotten that you received the opportunity to serve the children in this school system right from the classroom. But I want to take a moment and I want to talk to all the teachers out there who may be watching or who are going to see this or see a clip. And you can go right from being a classroom teacher to being a curriculum coordinator or director if you have the experiences in your career story that speak to the work that you're going to do. So as a teacher, you were doing work at the state level, you were doing work on the national level, you were involved in all the organizations, but not just involved, you were actively contributing to those organizations. And even when you were hired, you have not missed a beat. You took a strong urban major city program and blew it up to the next level. Like huge partnerships. And, I've not seen anything like it. I've been looking at other people's careers, and I have seen no one do this level of program expansion in the way that you have. So again, I'm so proud of you. And David, I'm really excited for this book to be shared with more people. So hopefully as this gets shared, this gets watched, we'll see more people take a look at Just Like Music, social and emotional learning inspired by hip hop, to then see how they too can reach kids, because there is a massive movement of front to figure out how can we do a better job of engaging children while meeting their social and emotional needs. And your book talks about doing that through the relationships that kids already have. Now, David, here's my question. This is the next one is for you. Have you seen your framework, your curriculum framework implemented? And if so, how did they do it and what made it work, if it worked?
So I do a lot with some nonprofits here in Charlotte. It definitely works. And I'm actually in talks with Kansas City Public Schools to roll it out to all of their freshmen. So I've done some stuff, and I've done PDs for schools across the country, but as far as getting that big rollout, that big pilot program, we got a couple of things in the works. And of course, doing it on a larger scale to get that good data. But yeah, on a small scale, it's worked. Kids have really had positive outcomes because of it. And primarily, I deal with a lot of kids that are Department of Juvenile Justice involved. So I'm dealing with those kind of students, those caliber students, and getting kids to stop bringing their bandana to sessions, kids actually getting employment through the curriculum. Like, of course, it's predicated on the relationships I build, but the content as well. Speaking the language that they speak every day, using it to boost up the academic skills, using it to build up those social skills. It's definitely worked.
And Dr. Womack, happy birthday.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming up, right? Or did I miss it?
No, it's the 16th.
Yeah, I know it's coming up. So,
Is that Megan's birthday, or is her the next week?
Megan Pete Day. The official Megan Pete Day is February the 15th.
Okay.
But I am going to celebrate. I'm celebrating it that day, of course. But I'm going to celebrate it, with my spin class on the 16th, because, I'm always requesting Megan songs, and it's a thing in the class. And then I compare everything the instructor plays to what he could have played had it been a Megan song. So it's like a big inside thing with that class. Dr. Womack, my next question is for you. And I want to know this, because I know you well. You take your job very seriously. You're constantly, look at Belton. You're constantly working. And this is what I want to know. Sarah, what right now is keeping you up at night when you think about your job, when you think about the work that you do in fine arts education, and as a curriculum coordinator, what is keeping you up at night?
I think us continuing to have a voice. You talked about, the great work that we've done the past couple of years. We just actually finished up our arts audit that we did in the past 3 years. Let's see if I can get this statistic right. In middle school and high school arts classes, the enrollment has increased 62%. So we're doing a great job. I think we also had our honor band today, our day one, first one since the pandemic that's face-to-face. And so talking to those teachers, me thinking, oh my gosh, we're doing great, 62%. But then talking to the other band directors and hearing that there's still issues in terms of getting kids scheduled in the right classes. So that, hey, we have, kids that are in advanced band and they've never played an instrument before. Why are they in that class? So making sure that kids progress from elementary school to middle school to high school in a sequential fashion vertically, and that everybody understands that. Our arts teachers understand that, and we've mobilized them, I think done a really great job to be advocates at their school, but we still have to continue our advocacy work with the leadership at all of our schools and the new leadership in our district. So it's kind of starting things over again, but we're continuing on the path. It's just never stopping. I mean, it's like what you said, like, it's just, I take my job seriously. It's constant work, and it's not something that you can ever let up on. So yeah. And it's what you're saying about access with the kids is like, if I'm not pushing, then there's kids that aren't getting access. So anyway.
And I think that's huge. And I want to, this is what I'm going to ask. I'm going to first to Dr. Womack, then I'm coming to you, David. But, Dr. Womack, I want to know, because there are people who are going to see this and who are going to listen to this, whether it's in a live format or they're in their car and it's via the podcast, and they're going to listen to this and they're going to want to know, like, one, how are you able to maintain fine arts education during the era of COVID-19? And what can they do if their fine arts program is off track? David, what I'm going to then ask you to tell us is, how can teachers address their SEL needs in the classroom in a fun and engaging way from the perspective of hip hop pedagogy? Because people want, they now we've laid out the story of what you do. They want to now know, how do they do it? And that's what I want to make sure that we're giving our listeners. So we'll start with you, Sarah.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, obviously everything was at home. So how do you do band, something that is together? Band means together. And now you're at home by yourself. So even if technology is not to the place where you can, you play your instrument and somebody in their house plays their instrument and it meets together. There's different speeds of internet, and it just doesn't work that way. So we definitely had to pivot. And our teachers did a wonderful job and still had offerings in the arts for their kids. So, I just mentioned our honor band. We turned that into a virtual honor band last year. Our dance showcase turned into a virtual option. So, while it wasn't us being together, it did offer an opportunity for us to have deeper relationships with individual students to learn what their deficiencies and their proficiencies were. So typically, if you're in a band class, you hear everybody playing at the same time. You don't really listen to one person at a time. And so having that perspective and really being able to hear each student individually was a positive thing. Also, our virtual performances, we were able to reach people that would never have heard those performances otherwise. So family members and friends that live in Seattle were able to hear the performances. And so we had a wider audience than we typically would have if our concerts, were at one of our local high schools or elementary schools. All of our teachers really pushed to make sure that the curriculum continued. How do you do art when you don't have paint at home? So we had our art teachers that did drive-through supply pickup so that instruction could continue. Our teachers really did step up and do whatever it took for that instruction to continue. So yeah, we're still coming out of the pandemic. It's still not perfect. We're still having to deal with safety issues and masking, to make sure that our students, stay healthy. But we definitely made lemonade out of lemons during that time.
That needs to be a full-blown news article. I had no idea teachers were dropping off painting and art supplies at the students' homes during the pandemic so that fine arts instruction or art education could continue. That is a big deal. And when you think about it, I bet there were even more innovative things done in the district to ensure that kids had this exposure because it's their passion point. And the teachers relate, they know that, and they probably went above and beyond, because what you hear is constantly about cutting the education is what we're going to go to next. Yeah. About why these schools are making budgetary decisions that are removing fine arts altogether. But before we go to that, I want to know, David, from you about the SEL work and how schools or teachers, let's say there's a teacher out there just in general, I love this idea. I'm going to buy his book. what can I do now to prep and get ready to do this and make sure that I'm addressing the SEL in a way that is fun and is relatable for my children?
So in the preface of my book, I tell anybody who's going to facilitate this, you need to go through the whole program yourself because it's a restorative approach, doing it with the students. And I'm going to give you all the perfect example. So the first chapter in the book is entitled Philadelphia. So every chapter is based off of a city, and that city is based on where the artist is from. So I'm a former Philadelphia representative. So the
And
first
who's that?
song,
Nas, right?
no, Meek Mill.
Oh, Meek Mill. Okay, okay.
The most famous song I'm probably sure everybody knows from the lyrics, that dreams a nightmare. You know, I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this, so I had to grind like that to shine like this. So that's the lyric I break down in the chapter. So I compare that lyric to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So in habit 2, he talked about how all things are created twice. So that the first creation is the mental creation. That's, you know, pretty much your goals that you're setting forth for yourself. So when Meek says, I used to pray for times like this, you pray for things that you want but do not have yet. That's the first creation. The second creation is the physical manifestation, all the hard work that would need to be done to take your dreams to bring them to fruition. So when somebody says you're on your grind, you're putting in the work, right? So I compare Meek Mill to Stephen Covey. So if we're talking about accomplishing something, that's goal setting. So how that's self-management, the actual skills goal setting in SEL. So making a vision board would be the activity. So even through the pandemic, kids know we're making a vision board, create a Canva account, present your, share your screen, show your Canva vision board. But of course, when we transition back to campus this school year, I partner with the local libraries. Hey, you're going to throw those magazines out? Let me get those. Poster boards, glue, old school style. So we're talking about goal setting, not just, okay, this is my first goal. No, let's make it more interactive. That's how you build relationships. That's how you create unique experiences for your students via, if you're on the virtual or if you're in person. And that's just one example, making a vision board to talk about goal setting versus just simply having a discussion.
And you're addressing multiple ways of arts integration in that classroom through that experience, through multiple art mediums. I love it. I love it. Now we go to, again, why are schools cutting music programs? We are living in an unprecedented time in America, and there are tons of movements afoot to take money and cut funding. There's a shortage of teachers currently, and there's anticipated to be an even bigger shortage to start the school year. And so when school systems think about what they're going to do to mitigate those issues, the first thing they want to do is they want to pull the fine arts teachers out of their classrooms or out of their work and put them in the regulated classroom. Therefore, they can also then look at how they cut the funding. Why is this happening? And what can be done to stop it? And that's just, just us discussing. Why is this happening? And what can we do to stop it?
I mean, I think it's testing, it's, the learning loss. They're like, oh, we've got to make up reading and math. So, our teachers are teaching, the intervention blocks. So, and getting pulled from their arts classes. I mean, and I understand it from an educator perspective. You're trying to make up these essential skills, but at the same time, it's at a detriment to their socio-emotional health. Kids are not with their peers, making music, making art on the stage. That's what they come to school for. There's kids that come to school, and David can tell you, for athletics and arts. That's why they're there. So if you can't even get them there, how are you going to teach them the reading and the math? So, I mean, I think it's the testing. I mean, it's a tested subject. Leaders are their value is based on those test scores.
And here's an area of growth, right? I believe that content creators have a responsibility to be authentic and true when they share with their audience on any platform that they share. And so I'm happy to share a growth moment for me, Sarah. You know this. As a director of curriculum and instruction with a hard academic background in English language arts, how much I value the academics over everything. There was a point in my matriculation where I would have said, we can cut athletics and everything else because if you have to cut, because academics are sacred. But now, having endured this pandemic and having seen the emotional toll that it's taking on people, I have no doubt that recess, that social time in classrooms, that fine arts, education, and athletics play the largest role in overall well-being, because every child isn't me. Every child isn't going to be academically inclined. For some children, those academics are torture, just like for me. Maybe I'm trying to think what was torture. Because, David, I don't know if you know, I played football from middle school through high school. Never played every year. And Sarah, I sang in the chorus too. I was horrible. I'm the worst singer ever. So here, you know what? So torture for me, though, would be when I would have to sing, we had to sing solos by ourselves. Never a real solo. I'm a horrible singer, the worst voice on the earth. But I would still have to in that class. I just like to be in the class because my friends were in the class. But I had to sing where they would hear me sing, and I wouldn't do it. I refused because that's who I am. Always been that way. But that would be the torture, right? And now I've learned that, and I realized that, and it's made me reevaluate how important these things are, especially now. And it makes me say to myself, we need to absolutely address the learning loss, but it needs to be happening on multiple levels. Number one, state standards that exist need to be pared down and essentialized. There's a lot of standards out there. Kids have gaps. We need to stop, look at where those gaps exist on a pervasive level, and readjust curriculum for the next 5 years so that kids catch up in a way that is meaningful and a way that is also going to be careful. Additionally, we just stop talking about the acceleration of learning and start talking about the deceleration of learning. It's okay to slow down and get it right so kids actually learn. Because when you go fast, you leave some kids behind, which is the problem in the first place. And that's why American education is in such a crisis. So it's okay to slow down. It's okay to get it right. And it's absolutely okay to let kids have a full, holistic learning experience that honors who they are. That's what makes kids love school, is that this is a little academic bookworm. We know this is our Nightingale singer, and we know this young man is someone who absolutely loves basketball. That is something that I want to see more of personally as someone who is no longer directly in the field. And it is a prayer and it is a hope. It's a hope.
Yeah. You hit it right on the head. I feel like you guys being in Georgia, I'm in North Carolina, we're still fighting that same battle. K-12 is so archaic. We love to claim we're equitable and we're doing the best for every student. But no, if you don't fit in the box, then you're getting the label. Now you're getting referred to EC services. And yet you said it so articulately. You said it well, more than I could say it. So I appreciate you putting that on wax.
Well, and two, we have learning loss in the arts. So when you're continuing to take time away or get rid of arts classes, you're even continuing that learning loss further. I mentioned our honor band today, our middle school honor band. It was like we had to go get different music because they are not at the level that that we thought that they would be at.
And we're taking away opportunities for these kids. And our old big boss would say, to lead a choice-filled life. Yeah. These children have a natural talent. And when we don't allow them to express that talent and grow in that talent, we're taking away choices that they could have made in their life. We're letting doors close. That's the exact same thing when kids are denied opportunities to an equal and adequate education. Yeah. And the work they have to do and the level of overcoming that they have to do to catch up, it should not exist. And so hopefully, as we continue to live through 2022 and we continue to pray for equity in funding and opportunity, we will see maybe some of this decrease. Maybe.
Hopefully.
With David's article, and if you want to read it, I recommend you do. I do. You can simply Google using hip hop to promote SEL competencies, Edutopia. It's a great article. David, I'm going to share the article on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm going to write a really nice comment about it and get it out there. Sarah, I really think this is my web designer for ZacharyKirk.com and 3+1 Media. And I really think this needs to be like a greater or more in-depth interview, because you've said so many things, like a written interview. So. I think there needs to be, because you've said some really great points and really great things that I'm going to extract some quotes from. But you've made me think more about some of the issues that impact fine arts education in a way that I haven't thought about, right? Because no one is really talking about this on a larger level. When I go to Twitter, I'm not seeing conversations about fighting to save the arts. It's kind of like our fine arts educators, they have been fighting so long and they're at a level of exhaustion that they're just giving up. And no one is keeping the fight going in the media platforms. And even now I'm wondering to myself, where are the history teachers? Where are the humanities teachers as we're facing the anti-slavery movement? And I think that what it kind of comes down to is people are just tired and they're just unwilling. They just can't, there's only so much fight you have. And so when that happens, it's up to those of us who are not in the trenches every day to pick up the mantle for our educators, and we carry on that fight. And so, David, how can we buy this book?
It's on Amazon.com. If you Google David Spellman, you will find it that way. Of course, the title, Just Like Music, Social Emotional Learning Inspired by Hip Hop, and you can get a hold of that.
Are you any relation to Sabrina?
No.
Yeah, Sabrina Spellman. It was a whole Netflix series.
Yeah.
So,
no.
No, okay. I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure. You never know. It could be magic with those lyrics. Sarah, what is the big thing that's happening right now that you want to share before we go into tonight's game?
Oh, I'm so excited about the game. A big thing that's happening. Our honor band, that's great. We're continuing partnerships. So at our March PL, we're going to, our visual art teachers are going to a local nature preserve and learning about Black landscape artists. Typically, it's just, the white dead guys that people learn about. So we're excited to offer that. And then our students are going to be able to do some of the artwork inspired by nature as well. And then they're going to have their own exhibit that's going to be juried by one of our local gallery owners and showcase. So we're so excited about that part.
One thing that I have loved that has come out of the pandemic. So one thing about me is I record certain shows every day, like daytime shows. And I started recording GMA3 every day to watch some point in the day. Like I want to watch tonight's episode after we conclude. And they've been doing so many spotlights on these really great artists that are living now and creating art, and people that wouldn't have traditionally gotten a voice. And I love that. And there's a Black lady folk artist who is autistic or on the autism spectrum, and she has produced some great work. Today I was in Barnes and Noble, and lo and behold, I saw like a whole collection of her artwork on like journals and cards. And I'm like, this is the power of the art that's being created and that is now being showcased. So I'm really glad that you're taking these kids out there to see this specific type of Black folk art, and so that they too may be inspired to create. Because again, you don't always have to have a type of classical training to produce great work or to produce great art or to make a living or a career from the art you produce. So with that being said, tonight's game, every episode I think of like a fun way of getting ready to conclude. And I really thought about how can I do like Black History Month with educators. And you may not have heard of this game, Sarah. It's called Black Card Revoke. Bro, have you heard of it?
No.
See, let me tell you what this game, we're not going to play Black Card Revoke, okay? We're going to play a different game. But here's the thing. It's based on Black Card Revoke. Black Card Revoked asks questions that, in theory, every Black person should know. But although, Sarah, you as a follower of pop culture, period, should know as well.
Okay.
And, Juvenile backed that thing up for what year? In the song, back that, he don't say thing in the real version, Sarah. He uses a different word. Okay, now it says, back that thing up, and they're doing it for this year. They cite a year, doing it for No, it's okay, Sarah. The point is that our non-black friends, you don't have a black card, and you're not gonna get it, right? You won't get it. So go ahead and tell us, David.
Are we doing it for the 99 and the 2000?
That's the way it goes, Sarah, right? So that's the game.
Okay.
We're not playing Black Card Revolt. What we are gonna play, however, is Teacher Card Revolt, right? So I'm gonna ask you a series of questions, both of you, that any teacher in America should be able to answer in the spirit of Black Card Revolt. And what I want to know is, you give us the answer, and I have what I think would be the right answer. And for those of you watching, I do need a teacher judge. And so one of the questions or some of the questions will require your answer, and that will be what we go with. So any educators out there, let me know who you are in the chat box, and you can serve as our judge. Question number 1, are you ready? It is this. What is the most common reason given by teachers for not being able to get a parent to return a phone call? Don't overthink it. It's real easy. When you hear teachers say, I couldn't reach Miss So-and-so, or I couldn't reach Mr. So-and-so, then they say it is because of blank. David, you go first.
They say the phone is off. The number's wrong in the system. The phone is off. It's disconnected.
And Sarah, what do you say?
That's what I was going to say.
Now, I would have to say that is typically the answer given to, maybe the phone is off, the number's wrong in the system. But you know what I've heard to be the most common answer? They just don't care. To get a phone call back, they don't care. They just don't. Now, is that not what you tell me? Am I wrong?
I've heard it.
I've heard it, yes. I've heard it before. Not number one answer, though.
Our second question is, what is, and this goes to you first, Sarah, what is the most common answer given by a teacher when they are late to work because they overslept due to a night of fun with family or friends, like what we're going to have happen on either Sunday night into Monday morning for the Super Bowl, or Monday night into Tuesday morning due to Valentine's Day? And that's why the world has so many Scorpios now, me being one. Tell me, Sarah, what is the most common answer given by teachers? Because they're not going to say, I was at a Super Bowl party, or I was celebrating V-Day. They're going to say,
I was up late writing my lesson plans.
Okay. David, do you concur?
Oh, no, I've heard this one a lot, too. And I've confirmed that this has been, the right answer. Oh, I had to take my son, daughter, or a family member to school.
Those two both are very good. Now, I said, oh, my God, the traffic was horrible today, right? To me, anytime a teacher is late, that's always the answer I get. Like, I can't sit here and check the traffic report to see, was it really traffic? But, okay, so so far, nobody has any points, but that's kind of the way the game works, because it's all open for debate, including the real game, the Black Card Revolt. Now, let's go to the next question. We got a few more, and it's this. The question is to you, David. What is the best thing for a teacher to eat in the school cafeteria? When you look at all the things that they put in that cafeteria, what is the best thing in the cafeteria?
Got to go with the chicken.
You got to go with the chicken, the cafeteria chicken. Now, David, I think that may be like at the collegiate level. So when I was in college, I loved the chicken in the cafeteria. But in all the schools I've been in, I did not want that chicken.
Oh, y'all got to come over here to North Carolina.
I have to come to North Carolina, the home of Bojangles and the Cookout, the original home of those two restaurants. I have to do that. Sarah, what would you say?
I would say Crispitos.
The Crispitos is very much a 2020 and above lunch treat. I have never in my life I've seen the Crispito on a menu, but I'm too old for the Crispito. This is one where the judge can send, you both can get 1 point. Now, I will tell you my favorite thing to eat in the cafeteria. I would only eat two things in the cafeteria. I would either get the pre-packaged salads that were wrapped, okay? I would get those, but the one thing that I actually love to eat in the cafeteria was the grits.
Mm.
In the morning, the school that I worked in had amazing cheese grits. They were consistent. They were wonderful. I miss them. You know what? I would even go back to visit to get the grits, but I bet you that they're no longer even there in the same situation. We have two more very quick questions. This one goes first to you, I think, Sarah, and is this: what is the most popular dish at the faculty potluck? Like when this is at the faculty potluck, this dish is hands down the most popular.
Well, I can tell you what I keep getting requested to bring, and that's my baked beans. But I don't know what the most popular dish is.
Sarah, what is in these baked beans? What are you doing in the baked beans? Because I've never heard anybody ever want anybody's baked beans.
We actually talked about it today. We scheduled a meeting around us bringing meat and the baked beans.
The fine arts coordinators or your central office peers?
Oh, the central office, our gifted office, and our health and PE office.
So, okay, you need to invite me. I'll stop by so I can get a plate and taste these baked beans. There's one person's food I don't want, but there are other people, I know that, I mean, stop. So, David, what would you say is the most popular dish at the potluck?
I'm going to go with the macaroni and cheese.
Okay, if it's good it depends on who makes the mac and cheese,
yes,
but that very well could be a winner. Now, I'm going to be honest and share this is what I put down, and I said, whatever is store-bought and still wrapped up. Now, that's what I would eat. If it wasn't store-bought and wrapped up, and it was a faculty potluck, more than likely, I wasn't going to eat it. But I do know that everyone isn't like me. The last question of the night goes first to you, David, and it is this: what are you not going to eat at the faculty potluck?
Potato salad.
Under no circumstance will you be eating anybody else's. And that is such, I'm a potato salad lover. My grandmother made the best potato salad, but everyone's going to say it's their mother, grandmother, auntie, somebody's potato salad recipe. No one can replicate or make her recipe except one person. It was like a neighbor of ours who lived like down the road. And she literally perfected the recipe because she loved it as much as I loved it. And she can make it just like my grandmother made it. My grandmother taught her how to make it. No one else could make it. I tried to make it. I come close, but it's not the same. So I agree with you on that. People don't like other people's potato salad, but so I can see that. But most people, if they bring a potato salad, it's going to be like what I would eat because it's going to be still in the package. You just go to Publix or Kroger, maybe the Piggly Wiggly. In some towns, they grab the bulk potato salad in the bucket and just plop it down, and there you go. At least it's sanitary. Sarah, what would you say? What are you not going to eat at the faculty potluck?
I was going to say deviled eggs, so kind of along the same line.
You know what? Because if you eat the wrong deviled eggs, it will have you where you will not be able to stay in the next period for the whole period because they've been sitting out. There was a room refrigerator. So many things go wrong with deviled eggs. Let me tell you what I said. And this was the experience at me in my old high school. Anything made by someone with cats in the house. Okay. If they had cats in the house, if you knew they talked about their cats every day, you did not eat their food. And that's so wrong, right? That's actually really messed up because, I had a cat at one point named Peter. Peter lived to be 16 long years old, and Peter died. Peter was put down out of nowhere. Like he was bleeding out of his nose randomly, and bam, it was his time to go. On Halloween of 2019, Halloween 2019, 16 great years, and no candy. Peter was never on the counter. Okay, because when Peter was a kitten and he was brought as a stray into my life, you get a spray bottle and you spray the cat as soon as they jump the first time and they don't do it again. Spray them right in their face when they get on the couch, when they walk in the kitchen, and that cat never crossed into that kitchen threshold ever. I did, however, catch him on the couch after I would go to sleep and walk back out. He'd be up there like he was me, and then he, jump down. He would often pretend to be me. But that's okay. It's, Peter, may you rest in peace. we always end, and I appreciate you both for taking time out. This has been, for me, a lot of fun and a great, just a wake-up call and a reminder of this work and the value that fine arts bring at a time when it may be devalued by some. It is critical to all. And I want to, always at the end, give both of you a chance to ask me one question, because I always ask you so many. David, what is that one question that you have for me? And you can always ask others, but you ain't gonna be able to ask it on no like live platform like this.
Yeah. So of course, I did my research on you, sir.
Ah!
So I want to know, then I want the good people tapping in to know, what is the status these days of the Deborah Kirk Foundation?
Oh yeah, you know what the Deborah Kirk Foundation is? We received our nonprofit status quickly. I was shocked at how fast I received the nonprofit designation from the state of Georgia. The Deborah Kirk Foundation is up, done, going. And for those who don't know, this is my mom passed away somewhat unexpectedly after a brief illness with Rocky Mountain spotted fever in November of this year. And so then a lot of my friends and people wanted to know, what can we do for you? What can we do for you? And I immediately bought like a lot of flowers. My mom loved the color purple, bought all the purple. I had already arranged for like way more flowers than anybody would need and want. So I encouraged my friends and people that I cared about to donate to the Deborah Kirk Foundation. I think we're at $6,000 now, as we're going to continuously approach to the 10. And what the foundation does is, my mom was really unique in that, and it's kind of a funny story. When I was growing up, you would see the people in Africa, where they would have the fundraisers asking for like the donate dollar Africa. And my mom and I would be like, we got to give $1 to Africa. She's like, we're not giving $1 to Africa. We give $10 to church every Sunday. We pay our tithes, and that is not our job. It's the job of the church to take care of the poor and the people in need. It's your job to take care of me. So when you grow up, don't you be giving your money to other people. You give your money to your mama. So that's what my mom believed in, right? So I wanted to honor that. But one thing that she did care a lot about were teenage moms. My mom had me at 17, and she made a lot of sacrifices because she had a child so young, and she struggled a lot. And something as small as $5 a month would have made a big difference in her life. So the purpose of the foundation is to give teenage mothers in my home county, Kemper County, Mississippi, that's as far as it goes, that one county. Any teenage mom can then fill out the application online to get a $500 up to $500 mini grant to pay a bill, to buy like a college book, to pay for your senior fees, to help go to prom, whatever it is, you can request it through the Deborah Kirk Foundation, and that money will be given. And so it's up running, and we're in business. So at the end of the year, you will see stuff on the website where I will continuously post the progress and the updates, anonymous to who the young ladies are, but recognizing our donors and those who contributed and those who've given to that, platform, and to extend out the Deborah Kirk Foundation and the giving. You may have also seen that I lost my niece tragically shortly after losing my mom. My mom's house caught on fire. My oldest niece was there, 21 years old, going to medical school. Her life was lost. And so we're going to give her mom, my sister now, we're going to also give out an annual scholarship to the hardest working senior. So my niece was like graduated high school and college early, valedictorian of her class, but she wasn't someone where things came easy. Like academics weren't easy for her in the way that they were easy for me. She was a very hard worker. And we're going to recognize the hardest working senior each year in that graduating class to honor her. So the Deborah Kirk Foundation is busy. And so I'm excited to be able to have thought of that idea with my sisters and be able to honor my mom that way. Sarah, what is that one question?
Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit. So I wanted to know, I worked with you, but I never even knew what your experience in the arts was. And you talked about singing in choir and how you were scared to sing by yourself. And I was thinking about that SEL kind of connection we were just talking about, and how SEL is inherent. Well, it's inherent in the arts. So
it wouldn't help me. It wouldn't help. Like there was nothing that anyone in that class could do that was going to make me sing out loud, because I cannot sing. I'm tone deaf, and I'm horrible.
But that's fine.
I was going to sit there. You couldn't make me not sit there.
But if you were expressing yourself, and people make mistakes, just in art?
No, it wasn't a mistake. I did it on purpose. I knew I couldn't sing. I just wanted to be with my friends.
Oh my God, boy.
This is a true story. That poor music teacher, he would roll his eyes. He couldn't stand me, but he was respectful. But he could not stand me. He is still, we're friends on Facebook, and he's a great guy. He was a sweet guy, nice man, but he could not stand me. And I don't blame him, because you got this one kid who refuses to sing in a darn chorus class. So it's not like they didn't know it wasn't going to happen. Like every year, like when it happened, they knew I wasn't going to sing because I couldn't sing. So horrible. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have even taken the class, but I did enjoy the experience, and it gave me an appreciation for music, because these kids could sing beautifully and they could do something that I really value. And I love music to this day. So that might have been my best, but I would have to say, when you think about past fine arts experiences, my best would, of course, would be writing. I love to write. That. That's everyone can tell that. And I actually, when I was getting my master's, I was torn between an MFA or a master's in secondary English. And I'm thankful that I chose the English education route. But I was a pretty good, creative writer, and I think I still can be and still have that skill. And you never know, one day I may publish some of that stuff that I wrote back in college. And I read it over sometimes. I'm like, that's pretty good. And of course, I wrote a children's book. Yeah. So, but again, that's not the same as like a read. It's just not the same level of what I was trying to write or doing in my master's program that was being heavily critiqued and evaluated with my peers and analyzed the way that we do all that stuff.
Well, and I think like our goal as arts educators is not necessarily create artists, but just to create appreciators of the arts and supporters of the arts. And so you definitely are that. So that's good.
I am a huge appreciator of the arts. And let me tell you where I want to see fine arts education go, Sarah, right? This is what I want to see. Because I'm a big futuristic innovator. Yeah. And I think that's one of your strengths too, right? Yeah. We share futuristic. It's a rare strength. Yeah. And I'm so thankful that I have it. I know you may hopefully appreciate it too. Yeah. Corey helped me appreciate my futuristic, which I didn't value until she broke down how all you do is talk about the future. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. It's easy for me to see the future and think of what I want to see in the future. And I want to see a fine arts pathway around social media content creation. Social media content creation is taking some elements of filmmaking, but it's different. Yeah. It's taking some elements of marketing, media, PR, blending it with the ability to do film and all these things. I want to see that being somehow addressed in school, because right now, if you were to ask the vast majority of middle school students what they want to be when they grow up, you're going to have at least 25% of kids in any given class say they want to be a YouTuber, and that's not going to change. It's always going to be something coming on over the horizon that people are going to want to be, that relates to social media and being able to influence culture. And I would love to see fine arts embrace that and find a way to help kids pursue that passion.
No, that's a great idea. And we have a whole media arts standards that can be taught through visual art, can be taught through music, can be taught through theater, can be taught through dance. So that's definitely, a huge pathway. And at least we need to start it with like a unit to get those kids engaged. Because you're right. I mean, my personal kids want to be YouTubers. So.
And it would truly show children they could literally learn how to be responsible producers and consumers of social media content, which I think is being completely missed. So thank you both so much. Look at that. Corey's with us. Mwah. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking time out of your day to join us. And again, Corey, thank you for, you brought up the crystal ball, but you put the lens, you gave me the lens to see that strength as one worth having. And Allison said, Dr. Womack is the ultimate supporter for arts education. Allison, I think she's the ultimate arts educator. Although she coordinates that work and she leads that work, the teacher that she is always going to be there. And that to me is like that's when you've been called to be an educator, is that even though you're no longer directly in a classroom environment, you're still doing the teaching and you're still doing the educating. And, it is the best job that I think anyone that can have, education, teaching is known as the most noble profession. And every day I reflect on that and realize it is so true. So thank you both. We will be back next week where we will be talking about teacher side hustles with Teach, Hustle, and Inspire. So thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you soon.